and welcome to Connected, episode 336. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, Pingdom, Hover, and Mack Weldon. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I am joined, as always, by Federico Viticci.
Hello, hi, it is me.
Hello.
The Italian guy. Hi, how are you?
You're so much more than that, though.
Well, thank you.
Also joined by Mike Early.
Hello, hi, it is me, the British guy.
Guys, so much more than your motherland.
Yes, we're also Europeans.
Well, one of you.
Well,
Less.
an
Geographically, yes.
geographically, we are in the same continent. How are you, Stephen? Tell us something about you.
I'm American.
No, I mean...
That's true.
That we all know. But
Can't
tell us
dodge
something
that
about
one.
you. Before we do follow-up, is there anything you want to say?
I'm just so glad to be here with y'all.
Cool. What did you have for breakfast?
I didn't eat breakfast today. I skipped it.
Oh, why?
I was late out the door to take a kid to school, and then I came home and went to work.
But you
I had lunch,
for
though.
lunch. Okay, you had lunch? For breakfast, I had yogurt. Just a very
Me too.
basic breakfast. Oh, nice. We can be yogurt buddies.
Look at us. Our bodies can digest dairy.
Well, it was lactose free. It was lactose free.
Oh,
so
take that.
take
Mine
that.
wasn't. Mine was lactose full.
It was just lactose.
Just lactose.
It was a whole cup
Yeah.
of lactose.
Lactose, really.
Yum, yum, yum,
Tasty.
yum. Yummy.
What did you have for lunch, Stephen?
I had some chicken with rice and half a bottle of water
Why half?
because the other half is here.
Why did you feel the need to put the water in your lunch order? Like, why did you tell us
Did
that
you, wait,
part?
did you pour the water on the chicken?
No. I mean,
I don't get it.
I can't be bothered to drink, so it all has to go in at the same time. What did you eat for lunch, Mike?
I didn't have
Why
lunch
are
today.
we talking about this?
You started it.
But why do you listen to all of my suggestions?
That's true. That's true.
Why do you
So
just
follow
go
up.
with it?
Follow up.
No,
It turns out.
no. What else has Federico eaten today?
Don't need, oh, yeah. I had some turkey and some salad.
That sounds good.
Yeah, but very light lunch.
You don't
Yeah.
want a heavy meal before podcasting, he
Sure.
said, having eaten chicken and rice. Mike,
Yeah.
turns out you're just bad at mice.
No, this is not true. So, first, Kirk and Kefka in the Discord told me this. Then, over the week, many people have told me this, which I appreciate. This is great feedback. The Logi or Logitech, depending on where you are in the world, their little unifying receiver, their little dongle that you can plug in for their mice and keyboards, does work with the MX Master 3 for Mac. Even though the Logitech website says my mouse is Bluetooth only, and I included a link in the document. I guess I'll try and put this in the show notes somehow. I haven't worked out how yet, but I'll do that. If you could look at it, it says connectivity, Bluetooth, right? And then the regular MX Master 3 says Bluetooth and unifying. So you can obviously see why I just naturally assumed my mouse only worked with Bluetooth. But if you plug in the unifying receiver, install the software, good to go. And now my mouse works like a dream because I don't have to use Bluetooth anymore. It's great.
I have a real problem with
Okay.
you specifically.
Oh, this isn't fair.
Why have you put photos in the show notes? There's like 3 of them, and I hate it. Why?
Yeah, I know. I went on a... So there are 3 images I put in the show notes today.
That was my favorite part. I appreciated the visual coup.
The reason is the things that I have put in there, we will get to them in turn. The only way that I could share the information with you both in a concise way is to include screenshots. Like there was no other way to do it.
I don't think our show is known for conciseness.
Well, I mean, otherwise I would have said to you, all right, scroll down the page. All right, do you see that? See, now, do you want me to do that? Because I tell you what, I will delete these.
No, please leave them in.
Yeah, see, Federico gets it.
Yeah.
So instead of you being bad at mice, Logitech is really bad at making different products.
But I just don't understand why
That's so
they
dumb.
just seem to suggest that it doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense to
And
me.
is that the only difference between the one for Mac and the regular one?
I don't. I don't actually know what the difference is between them.
They cost the
You know
same.
Oh, do you know what it is? It's USB-C to C.
Oh, for the charging or like the built-in cable.
Yeah, but that's just the cable that they give you in the box. It's
Also-
and it's a slightly different color.
Also, USB-C is all over PCs now.
I know.
You know what really bothers me in this image? In the size section, full size is written in one way in the left column and in a different way in the right column.
Full hyphen size. Maybe that's another difference between Mac and Windows is the use of hyphens in full size.
Windows uses hyphens, and I mean this is the kind of thing that really bothers me. Like, you should ask for a refund if only because of this. In any case,
I also like how they, under power, rechargeable USB-C to C space / 70 days. 70 days of battery life?
of what? 70 days of what?
70 days to charge it.
70 days of summer?
That's how long it takes.
Those are really slow.
That's a good movie, the 500 Days of Summer. You just referenced it. That's a good movie.
No,
It's
it's really not a good movie.
it's
Why'd
really
you reference it then?
No,
I like it.
it's yeah.
Federico,
Yes,
what-
it is me.
in the world is happening with iOS 14.5 and music apps? I thought we knew what they were doing.
What's happening is that Apple is well, if you want to have my honest opinion,
I do.
chickening out on calling it for what it is. And I'm referring to the ability to set a default music service in iOS 14.5. So we talked about this feature that first appeared in beta 1 of iOS 14.5, was sort of removed in 14.5 beta 2, or at least some people were not able to make it work correctly, and then returned with some updated text labels in Siri in the latest beta 3, last week. Now, we talked about this. The idea is that you can ask Siri to play music from one particular service, and after choosing from a list of compatible services, and this works for music, for podcasts, and for audiobooks, Siri will stick to that option. So there's no paging settings, but you are effectively setting a different default. And we also mentioned how in the month that I had been using this Spotify as my default for Siri, despite my variety of requests, playing playlists and radio stations and albums, singles, all kinds of things, Siri never prompted me to switch from Spotify. It never asked me to pick a different service. So it is, practically speaking, setting a default in Siri. However, Apple issued a statement to TechCrunch to quote-unquote clarify that this option does not mean that you will be able to change your default audio apps in iOS and iPadOS 14.5, because this feature will just be based on Siri's intelligence, is what Apple likes you to think, that Siri will be able to intelligently and over time adjust the suggestions of apps that will be capable of playing music, podcasts, and audiobooks. And essentially, Apple's argument boils down to there's no paging settings. It's not like changing the default for a web browser or an email client. Siri is actually trying to learn from you, and over time, you may be presented with the option to pick a different service. Or if you continue to manually request, they give the example of, let's say that they didn't actually say this, but I'm going to give you the practical version of it. So let's say that you use Spotify as a default service in Siri for playing music. But let's also say that for whatever reason, you keep asking, play this radio station on Pandora. And you ask that enough times, at some point, Siri will notice that pattern and may ask you, hey, do you want to switch to, do you want to pick again the default music service? Because the idea is, we notice that you keep requesting Pandora, so maybe you want to choose again your default music service. So I kind of get it, but still, I keep thinking that this is a clever way to try and have it both ways, in the sense that you will not have a paging settings. You don't want to call it a default music player because it's in your best interest to still have that competitive advantage over Spotify. I mean, let's face it, that's the elephant in the room, right? Apple wants to make sure that as many people as possible keep using and subscribing to Apple Music. But at the same time, you kind of want to have something to show to regulators in the US and in the EU to say, but look, Spotify is complaining, but actually in 14.5, we launched this option that lets you play audio in Spotify by default just by asking Siri once. So it kind of feels like they want to try and try this approach, which is surprising to me because they did the exact opposite for web browsers. I mean, there's Google Chrome, right? That can be set as a default in iOS 14, and for email clients, which, I mean, I get it. Email clients maybe not as hot as a topic as web browsers and music players, but still, I understand the technicality of the clarification. I still think it comes from a place of trying and be a little too clever around it.
I guess the funny thing is it is exactly the worst case scenario we joked about last week.
Yes.
Siri trying to learn.
Yes, we literally said, oh, but Apple will spin it and they will frame it as, no, Siri is trying to be intelligent. And like, we literally said this on the show. And the next day or a few hours later, this was actually the contents of the clarification to TechCrunch. So yeah, it's great. It's great. Great statement. Look, what I can tell you is they can spin it however they want. I set Spotify as my default over a month ago. It still is my default in Siri, and it never changed. So at the very least, it's intelligent enough to know that it should use that as my default player.
Apple have released a firmware update for the AirPods Max. There's absolutely zero information about what this may or may not do, but the hope from me and many AirPods Max users is that it will improve the battery life issues that many people have been having with their AirPods Max, in the sense of the fact that they will just be completely out of battery for seemingly no reason, even if you put them in the silly case that they ship with. So my AirPods have updated to the new firmware, which, just as an aside, is so annoying that you can't just ask the thing to update. You have to just keep plugging and unplugging and plugging and unplugging, and hopefully you'll get it. And I don't know, it's very anecdotal right now, of course, because I've only had it for a day, but I charged my AirPods up today. I used them for a bit, and I've left them just on the desk, not in the case, and I still have 100% battery on them, which is not the experience that I've had all the time. It is, but this is the problem, it is the experience I've had sometimes. So this is going to take a long period of time for me to understand, or for anyone to understand, if this has actually done anything to fix the issue. So we'll see. I was looking around on Reddit to see if people had any experiences so far that they wanted to share, and this is screenshot 2. It's just a comment that I thought was very funny. It was the top comment on the thread about this firmware. It says, "Cue the inevitable Safari seems snappier" comment, which just really made me laugh. Just the idea of every software update ever, someone will say that Safari feels faster, which is very true as a thing. And I just like that in the sense of even just a firmware update for the AirPods Max, someone's going to think it'll make Safari quicker for them.
Makes your headphones faster.
Headphones are way faster.
That's been a meme since before y'all used the Mac.
Hey, I know where the meme comes from. It comes from online forum boards.
Yeah,
I think.
Mm-hmm. Wait, when was Safari introduced?
2003? 3, I think. 2002?
I mean, not that much longer then. I mean, it would have been within the first 2 releases of Safari.
Safari web browser first released January 2003, 18 years ago.
So I don't really think that your attempted burn holds up.
Safari 2 was 2005.
I think it was a nice try, but it doesn't
Safari
work.
3 was 2007. Oh man, remember Safari for Windows? That was a fun time to be alive.
I remember the weird Safari with the tabs on top. Remember that?
Yes,
That was weird and cool. I kind of loved it though because it was weird.
Yeah, we will put a link in the show notes. People haven't seen that because it is it is weird. There. Oh, look, here's something on Macworld. Yeah, we'll link to that.
I used Hey World. Hey's blogging
World.
thing. It was mostly done from a joke. We're going to talk about the iMac Pro a little bit shortly. And I woke up to, there was a blog post from Stephen and a blog post from John, both shared in our iMessage channel. So I just thought I would continue a joke and wrote something in Hey World and just shared it. You know what? It's pretty cool. It's like a little feature. It's like a fun little feature. It's fine. I don't know. I'd be a little bit worried about like accidentally emailing something to this email address. Like maybe there's like something which is close enough to it that I would accidentally send an email to that, and now I've published my email. I've released the emails, as they would say. But it's fine as a thing. I have new complaints with Hey, but I'm not going to subject them to you. But suffice it to say, I continue to find new issues. One of which I reported to their support team today, and the support team was very nice.
Did they fix it?
I have met.
They said they will look into it.
Yeah, they're just trying to get you off their lawn.
I'm going to tell you what it is now. So I had an email that I wanted to save as a PDF because it was a receipt. I was very annoyed to find out that on the Mac, there is no way to do this.
What?
Right? There's no like inbuilt thing. So like on iOS, it says share or print. And so you could share it and you can maybe bring up the print dialog, turn it into a PDF, whatever. There's no sharing or printing thing on the Mac app. So I was like, okay, let me just try and print this. So I pressed Control P, nothing happened. I went up to File, Print, nothing happened. So I sent an email to the support team and they're like, it should be working. Does it work in the web version? So I was like, okay, open the website, did the whole login, and it did. And they're like, oh, what computer are you on? And I was like, an M1 Mac. And like, that must be the problem. We'll look into it. We don't have one of those. I don't have one of those. I'll look into it. So funny, another funny thing. Now I have another complaint that I'm going to give you. They had that linking feature, right? You have a personal account and a business account. You can link them together, one login, both accounts. I don't want to do that, right? Like, I don't want to link my business and my personal email with one login. That seems like a bad idea. I'm not going to do that. I want separate logins. On the iOS app, you can log into 2 Hey accounts.
Hey.
And you don't have to link them. So you can log into your personal one and your business one. On the Mac app, you can't do that. You have to link them. So I also, friend of the show, Quinn, of Flashback Quinn Nelson, he was tweeting about sharing my same complaints about Hey, and I think Jason Fried ended up getting in on the conversation and was basically said that the Mac app is not a priority for them, which I thought was weird and a shame, to be honest.
It's almost as if they should have a real Mac app.
Well, at the very least, the iPad app.
Yeah, just hit the Catalyst button and move on.
Or not even. I mean, they can make Catalyst, but like make the app available in the App Store. I'm still frustrated at developers that haven't just ticked that box. Just let me try. Just tick the box and let me try.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it, just let me at least give it a go. It's going to be a better experience than me trying to use your horrific web app, which is, it's not even, I don't want to get into this
You
again.
are already in
I'm
it, man.
trying.
Just go.
I am trying to use this. Like, it just annoys me so much. The Mac app it's just a web browser. And like, I don't understand it. Because like, who is your audience?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you saying that like, because the web version's not really that great anyway. It should, it's not like the thing that people love about Gmail's web interface is it's like legitimately very good and fast. But like, and also one of the things I like about Gmail, I know people maybe don't like this, but right click means something. You can do stuff, right? So you can right click in Gmail and you can actually use the right click. You can't do that with Hey, right? It's like I end up with these experiences where all I want to do is mark this email as being unseen, so it goes back up to the top of the list because I don't want it to be in the bottom of the list of all of the email that I've seen ever in my entire life. And I have to click it and then click another button. But if I right-click, it's like, hey, do you want to save this page as a web archive? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. You're supposed to be an application. I blame you for this, Federico. I just want you to know.
Hey seems bad.
I can see why people like it. I'm still not into it enough to really get the benefit of it. But the more I'm using it, I can get it, right? Because there's things about Hey that I already tried to do to my other email, which is like using SaneBox to try and like filter some stuff for me. This is built in for that. And you know what? The iOS app, I actually do like it a lot. I think it's nice to use. It's a fun thing to use. Like, I think it's pretty good. But their other experiences are really bad, and I genuinely can't get my head around it, to be honest. Like, I will say now that, like, hearing them say, like, the Mac app is not a priority. Oh, but by the way, we're going to put engineering time on turning our email platform into a blogging engine. Like, that annoys me now. It's like the thing that I was talking about where it's like, this is frustrating to me and weird to me that they would do this, when they are then saying things like, the Mac app is not a priority, like a Mac experience they kind of don't care about. It's like, I don't really know who your customer base is, honestly. Because if you're selling a work tool, people want to use these apps on their computers, right? Not just on their phones.
But I still have questions for you.
Oh, sorry.
Like, I want to go back to the blog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
So, first of all, what can we expect from this Mike Hurley blog?
Nothing. This one post, probably.
Is this going to be your only post on this blog?
Who knows, man? Maybe at some point, Stephen and John will both write a post about the same thing on their respective websites, and then I'll feel like
Is that a way to trigger you into writing a blog post? Is that
possibly?
How it works?
Possibly.
I kind of dig this format of Mike thoughts in, 200 words or less.
I used to like doing stuff like this, but I
dig it because it's better. Like, you could have tweeted all of this stuff, but it's nicer to see it on a web page. It's a wild concept called a blog post. And I kind of think it fits you well.
But, like, look, you guys know that I can spell really well. My problem is I'm a terrible proofreader. I am like the world's worst proofreader, right? You both know this about me. I can write a whole thing, read it 20 times, and I never see any errors, right? Like, but then as soon as I publish it, I see errors everywhere. I just can't be bothered with getting like spelling checks and stuff like that. You know, like people telling me, oh, hey, you spelled this word wrong. Like, I just really don't want to. I really don't want to do that. I'm actually looking now. I don't even know if you can go back and correct things. I don't know whether that would help me or not.
Wait, I think somebody mentioned that you can edit these posts, because then you should have a section in the app where you can make changes.
Yeah, under the little waving icon, I have a thing that says "Hey World" now, and I can go in and edit posts. I don't know. Who knows? You know, there's a million things that I may or may not do. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be encouraged to write some more Hey World posts in the future.
Okay, I will try and encourage you.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Pingdom. Do you have a website? Maybe a new blog you just launched? Does it have a shopping cart, registration forms, contact us pages? If you answered yes to these questions, then you need to check out Pingdom. Nobody wants their critical website transactions to fail. That means a bad user experience for your users and could mean lost business. But the good news is you can set up transaction monitoring with Pingdom. It will alert you when things like cart checkouts, forms, and login pages fail before they affect your customers and before they affect your business. Pingdom will let you know the moment any of these fail in whatever way is best for you. You can customize how you're alerted and who is alerted depending on the severity of the outage. Pingdom cares about your users having the smoothest site experience possible, so if disaster strikes, you'll be the first one to know. It's super easy to get started. Go to pingdom.com/relayfm right now for a 30-day free trial with no credit card required. And when you sign up, use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get a huge 30% off your first invoice. Our thanks to Pingdom from Solar Winds for their support of the show. More follow-up.
Talking about email, I have to just share both. I tweeted this, but I have to just talk about it here on the show today. Me and Steven probably get the similar kind of email like this. Just constant email from like getting pitches of who knows what, right? I have this person on the show. You should have our podcast on your network. It's just like constant barrages of pitch emails all day. And we got a pitch email today, which was about wanting to redesign our entire website, which I have no idea.
Oh yeah, I get those too.
Okay, I have no idea who's ever said yes, right? Like, yes, random person I don't know, I would like you to redesign my entire website.
Please.
But this person's opening line is one of the most incredible COVID-related opening lines I've seen. Like, we've all gotten used to now, like, in this current situation, like all those kinds of lines. This email opens with, "I hope you've been staying positive and testing negative."
Sure. I mean,
what a line!
what?
Who responds to that and says,
this person cuts right to the chase, right? It's like, "I hope you're feeling great and that you're still alive." It's like, that is literally like, I kind of love it. I love it. It's one of the best things I've heard.
I just want to know the thought process. Like, was it that they wrote, like, "I hope you're staying positive," and then thought, "Oh, that word has more connotations now," and instead of editing it out, just doubled down, right? They were like, "Oh, you thought I was talking about COVID? Well, now I'm really going for it." Let me...
It's like, wait, positive? Let me rephrase by making it worse.
It's so bad. I just don't know who gets that email and they're like, I want to enter into this business relationship with this fun person. Very strange to me.
Yeah, we also get strange emails. And again, it's mostly like the problem is not, it's the kind of things that some people are asking, like, do you actually expect me? Because you can tell they're not spammers, right? They're not like, these people that claim to have a huge inheritance for you, right? It's not that kind of spam. You can tell these are actual PR people getting in touch with you. But also, like, what would you expect me to say or to reply?
I guess it's just like they have these machines sending these thousands and thousands of emails, and every now and then someone says, yeah. Because like I get these kinds of emails from companies that I know are reputable. Like, I've seen them, I've heard their name, and it's just like, this is just a really weird sales process. Nevertheless, Steven broke another iPhone.
That's not...
Wait, what?
That's not true.
Steven broke another iPhone.
What?
You know how I know this stuff? I know when Steven gets new machines.
How?
Because we share enough accounts of things together that
yes,
over the space of a couple of
alerts.
days, I get like a bunch of emails from Twitter, and they're like, "A new sign-in on @RelayFM from Memphis, Tennessee." And then sometimes it just happens. It's like, oh, okay, like maybe Steven's using a new app or whatever. And then a day later or two, another sign-in for Connected FM for Memphis. I'm like, something's going on here. So I text Steven and said, "Do you have a new iPhone?" And he said the power button died. So he broke another phone.
I didn't break it.
None of these things ever happened to me.
This particular phone, the sleep-wake button just slowly descended into the body of the phone, where anytime you touched it, it triggered Siri because it thought it was just stuck down. And so I chatted with Apple, and they sent me a new one. No charge. It's not accidental damage.
But I just don't think that these things are normal wear and tear issues.
How would I smash a button?
I don't know. Compression from your skinny jeans.
See, I don't believe you. That is literally like an issue that I never heard of before. So the button practically sank into the phone. I mean, sure, it sure did, Steven. Yeah.
Look,
Because
the button sunk into the phone after I dropped it down a flight of stairs. What do you want from me?
Didn't drop this phone. I didn't drop it. And Apple replaced it under AppleCare. So that's all you need to know. They did not consider it damaged because it wasn't damaged. It's been in a case most of its life.
You know what's really sad about all of this is that we always, Mike and I, we pride ourselves in thinking that this show is a safe space for sharing certain truths about the things that happen. And you instead decided to Sell us on this story of the sinking button.
Because it wasn't a story you were forthcoming with, was
Because
it?
there's nothing to say. It's like a random
Didn't
hardware
tell
failure.
anyone. You didn't tell anyone you were onto iPhone 27.
There have been more iPhone 12 phones than one would expect.
Did you record this breakage in your incomplete list of
No,
breakages?
because it's not breakage. I didn't
I
drop
bet
it.
you have a. I bet you have
So
a.
how many phones have been replaced that we never found out about, you know?
None of them.
At this point, I'm questioning everything. Did you
Yep.
guys see? There's been a new development.
There's breaking news.
Oh, God.
Sure, you can call it that.
For quite a long time now, if you've broken the rear of your phone, the back glass, as the kids call it, you would have to have your whole phone replaced because of the way the phones were constructed.
Literally everybody calls it
But
that.
now there is something called the iPhone rear system, which is a part that lets an Apple Store or an ASP replace just the back of the phone. Basically, I think you get a new rear enclosure, and then they scoop all the guts out of your old phone and put it in the new phone. And you don't have to go through backup and restore.
I don't like the expression "scoop all the guts out of the like I just,
Scoop them up.
I just don't like it.
I don't like rear system.
Yeah, I mean, it's one way to call it, but still cool, right? This is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, it's nice that they can do this. I wonder if there will ever be a time when they will be able to do like when you break your iPad, they can just change the display without actually changing the entire unit, for example. Although I guess that situation there is different. Because if you remember, I broke my iPad Pro twice in 2 years.
Mhm.
And both times they had to actually give me a new iPad. You cannot just fix the display. They got to give you a new unit under Apple Care Plus.
Let me keep reading in this because you may have to actually restore your data. So the iPhone rear system allows them. This is a very confusing sentence. Okay, I'm just going to read it. Apple stores and ASPs have a new iPhone rear system part available to them that consists of the rear enclosure of an iPhone with all components except the display and rear camera, but includes the battery, logic board, wireless charging coil, Taptic Engine, Face ID system, and so forth.
It's basically the entire phone.
So it is mostly a new phone. You just get your old scratched screen back. So you probably do have to do a data backup and restore this way. I mean, it's still cool. Not as cool as it was. This is a very
Not that
confusingly
cool.
written sentence. Mac Rumors. Joe.
It's like, oh, we only have to replace 75% of the phone now instead.
So yeah, don't drop your phone. That's what we're saying.
Do you say that in the mirror? That's what you should do. You're the only one of us that ever breaks phones.
Phone you're dropped, don't. There, I said it in the mirror.
oh my God.
It doesn't even make sense because that's not how it works.
Okay, how do you end a podcast while you're still recording the podcast? Like,
Because if
let's
you put
Google.
that in a mirror, it still wouldn't make sense. Really.
Googling is how to
Because the letters would all be
end a
backwards.
podcast. How to end a podcast on Google, the step-by-step guide.
Oh.
And see how to end your podcast episodes. No, I just want to end the show.
Like, what should I include in my outro?
How to close with style. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so thank you everybody for following along for the past 8 years. Unfortunately, this show is ending because Steven is bad at jokes. And we love you. Mike and I love you. Steven, I cannot speak
Yep.
for him. Thank you. Thank you to all
Bye,
our
everyone.
sponsors. Bye, everyone. It's been fun. I hope you will continue to enjoy Steven's solo show where he just shares these so-called jokes with you on air.
It was so bad.
So thank you and goodbye. And the show is ended. So
Yep.
now
All
it's
of
just going to
this,
be...
it's not
Yes.
the show anymore.
Okay.
This is the post-show for members because we're still going to keep charging them for money.
We're not
Because,
silly.
Man's got to eat, right? So
Uh-huh.
What's next?
Lamine asked, are any of you still using the Moshi eye visor? on your iPad Pro?
I am not. I removed it.
Ooh, what happened there? Did it interfere with the kickstands or something?
No. I haven't used the kickstands in a while.
Oh, it's all
Obviously.
change.
I mean, the Magic Keyboard changed everything, right?
Mm.
So I left it during the summer, and then it was just September, October when I came. It was in September after I came back from the beach house. Like, you know what? I want to switch a few things around. It was like when you're shopping for new clothes. You know, I just wanted to feel fresh and new, and so I was like, I'm gonna go back to using the iPad without the screen protector. It looks very nice. But it's obviously the Mochi still in my drawer, and probably gonna put it back for the summer because of reflections on the display. If I will end up having to write at the beach, which I don't know at the moment. Can we even go to the beach this year? I don't know. So I just, no particular reason. I still love it. I still like it. Obviously going back to the screen protector free iPad display makes you appreciate the iPad's display again, right? It's so bright and colorful.
And
You
crisp.
get it's crisp. But I didn't remove it because I didn't like it anymore. I just wanted to switch things around, as I always do. Because otherwise, life gets boring if you get stuck on using the same things forever. So,
I'm still using it.
yeah, because you're boring.
I do have these instances where I take it off and like the screen is so much crisper. It is clearer, but I do like the matte effect. I like that there isn't a glare on the iPad screen. I hope that they find a way in the future to offer it as an option. I don't know how they would do it, but
Yeah, I actually have two versions of the Mochi iVisor. I have the big one and the small one for the iPad Pro 11-inch, which I'm no longer using because Silvia stole it from me. So
I'm sorry that you've been a victim of a crime.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Hover, one of Relay FM's longest-running sponsors. When you have that one big idea, where do you go? Where do you start? Well, a business starts with a domain name. And for many, many people, including all of us, Hover is that first big leap. They have over 300 domain name extensions to choose from. So no matter what you want to build, there's a domain name waiting for you to come and adopt it. They have excellent technical support to answer any questions you may have, and they're dedicated to getting you online, not upselling you. Hover has free Whois privacy so the bad guys don't get your info, really clean UX and UI so it's intuitive, easy to use right out of the box, really simple and clean, easy to navigate. And they have monthly sales on popular top-level domains. It's easy to see why Hover is the popular choice for people starting businesses. I have all of my domains over at Hover, a lot of serious domains for jokes. And one of the great things about domains for jokes, or you want to cover like a common misspelling of a domain or something like that, Hover makes it really easy just to forward a domain to another one. And so I've got several iterations of, say, 512pixels.net, and I just have them forwarded over to the actual real URL. Really easy to do. Took just a couple of minutes each. So go check out Hover, buy your domain, start using it today by going to hover.com/connected and get a 10% discount on all new purchases. That URL one more time is hover.com/connected. Make a name for yourself with Hover. Our thanks to Hover for their support of the show and Relay FM. It's dead.
Whoa, the podcast?
It's dead and gone.
Because Federico left?
I think he's sleeping.
All right, he's taking a nap now.
I'm putting on my boring emoji reaction in Zoom. Hold on.
There it
you
is.
go.
The thing is, the
There it
emoji
is.
you've picked is the opposite of boring because you picked like the surprise face guy.
It's because I like to keep you on your toes, right? Is he surprised or bored? You'll never know.
So he could be yawning maybe.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what I thought initially.
No, there's a different yawn emoji. I figured you would be better at working out what emojis are by their looks by now, but clearly the Jeremys haven't completely sunk in with you at this
No.
point.
Nope.
They're coming soon though, so stay subscribed. Smash that follow button in Apple Podcast. Okay, so the iMac Pro is on sale while supplies last. If that sounds familiar, you see it in your town when the mattress company goes out of business while supplies last. Same thing here, except this is a $5,000 10-core Xeon computer and not a mattress from a guy.
Mattresses can be expensive.
$5,000?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
I didn't pay that for mine.
if they don't cut out the middleman,
Easy.
they probably
Easy.
probably would be.
We don't want a ghost of a past sponsor to come back.
How do you feel about this?
I'm not surprised, right? I don't think anyone should be. I think it's easy to see a future where the Apple Silicon iMac easily spans the low end to the high end. The iMac Pro came from a time where the Mac Pro was not going to exist anymore. Then they decided to build a Mac Pro, which I'm very thankful for because I really love it. But this machine is, you said it on Upgrade, it's kind of from like a parallel universe. It's from a different timeline. That said, the iMac Pro is a fantastic computer. And I really, really enjoyed my time with one. I'd still be using it, except having a Mac Pro was like a lifelong dream. And so I did that. Well, not lifelong, but since 2007.
I mean, how many professional Macs do you actually have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 Power Macintoshes I can see, plus an old style Mac Pro. So a lot. But they're not my machines I use, to do work.
It could be. It'd just be very slow.
I've got the Cube, but that doesn't really count. So how do you feel about it? Because you're sitting in front of one of these.
Yeah, it's a piece of junk. this dead computer, this EOL computer, it's been end of life. What am I supposed to do? How long is it going to be until... What is that thing that they have? Like vintage machines? Is that what they call it?
Yeah,
It's
that's 5 years after date of manufacture for the model kind of thing.
I mean, mine's not very close. Not very far away from that. This machine was made in 2017.
Well, it'll be 5 years since they end the model. So 5 years counting whenever this page finally doesn't load anymore.
Which is, any time from now. I mean, I was obviously going to upgrade this computer, right, to some kind of Apple Silicon machine. And, I expect it will occur this year. This is the longest I have used any Mac for.
No way. You had your 2015 iMac for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, the 2015 iMac, I replaced that in maybe 2018 or something.
With this machine?
I think this might be the longest that I've used a Mac.
You've had it a
for.
long time.
I've had it a long time. Both of these ones, I've had them for a long time.
It's a really, really good computer. Oh, I have live real-time follow-up.
Okay.
The confusing sentence on Mac Rumors has been fixed by Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mac Rumors, Joe.
Thank you. He's in the Discord now.
Oh, wow.
Just everywhere.
What we've learned then is all we need to do is say people's names and they will join to become members. So
Okay.
if
Really?
the only thing that has been stopping you from becoming a Connected Pro member is having Federico say your name, just send us a tweet. And on next week's episode, we'll say a list of names and you'll have to become members.
Right.
That's the service that we will start providing, I guess.
I think you've just reinvented OnlyFans.
That's perfectly fine by me.
Yes.
The timing of the iMac Pro going away is interesting, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't really know why they've done it now. I mean, there could be a million reasons why, right? And you can just pick whatever reason fits your own personal narrative. But, it's super weird for them to kind of get rid of it right now. And then also, the while supplies last thing is just, so strange. Are they that hot? Right? That, quick, get your order
Get
in
it
now.
while supplies last, because everybody's
it's
lining
a
up for an iMac Pro these days.
Step right up. It's a very strange thing to put on the website anyway. If you felt like you needed to do that, maybe you're still selling so many that it would be fine. I don't know. It's really weird to...
we've all kind of assumed that the next Apple Silicon Mac set would be a more powerful MacBook Pro and probably like the corresponding iMacs, performance-wise corresponding. This thing, though, sat at the top of the range of the Intel machines, but a couple interesting things have happened since then. One, the regular 5K iMac is as fast as the iMac Pro in some things, faster than others, but they're in the same ballpark now. Now, they're not the same machine. The 5K iMac sounds like a leaf blower the second you breathe on the CPU, but that is what it is. So the current iMac, in many ways, bests the iMac Pro, or at least competes with it. If Apple is on the verge of releasing new machines, this would make you think, well, they're going to go, like, they're going to have all the iMacs, right? They're just going to replace them all at once. But I don't think that's necessarily what this says. I think that this could go away, the next couple weeks, however long it takes to sell out of them. And we still don't see high-end Intel iMacs for a while. It could be that there's a component in here they can't get anymore, or that it's just not a good use of their resources to keep making these. Maybe they're only selling a few a week. I mean, who knows, right? I would imagine they're not selling a lot of iMac Pros right now. I think people...
But it's like they were selling the cylindrical Mac Pro for a really long time. You could buy that thing up until the day before the new Mac Pro went on sale. Like, so that's what I find kind of weird about this.
Yeah, but the difference is then there weren't necessarily other Macs. I don't remember all the spec numbers, but the trash can Mac Pro still had people, because it was constructed the way it was, whose needs it met. And now the iMac Pro is flanked on one side by the 5K iMac, and then you go a little bit the other side and you just have the Mac Pro sitting there. And so in a way, the iMac Pro, forget Apple Silicon for a second, has already kind of been squeezed out of the Intel lineup because these other two machines have converged on its territory, if you will.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more about, okay, we are obviously moving away from Intel. Can we simplify the Intel line until we get around to having Apple Silicon ready? Now, it could be that in 2 weeks we see an iMac that very obviously is this machine's replacement, but my guess is not selling very well, not that efficient to make them anymore. Maybe there's parts issues, and the reality is if you needed a machine like this, you actually have two options in the Intel lineup depending on which direction you want to go.
What's your current prediction for Macs in March?
I mean, the rumors say no. In fact, there was a report today saying that the MacBook Pros, the new MacBook Pros were entering high production in the second half of the year. So
yeah,
I kind of think it may be WWDC before we see new Macs. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish we'd see them in March, because when did the M1 ship? In November, December? 6 months is a long time, but maybe that's how long we've got to wait.
I was wondering if we would see maybe a base iMac with an M1 in it before, and then everything else waits for a second revision to the chips.
Yeah, or the a higher spec version. Yeah, I don't know. It is weird. I think if we see anything, you're exactly right. It would be an entry-level iMac. It shows Apple's hand with the design, if they're changing the design, and boy, I hope they are. Because
if they don't, that'd be so sad.
Me too. That 21-inch iMac, the M1 would suit that computer just fine. It would be faster, way faster than the 21-inch iMac is now. You already have the parts, right, if you're just bringing the M1 over to it. So I don't know. I think out of all the machines that are left, the 21-inch iMac, or maybe it's 24 inches, maybe it gets a little bit bigger, the low-end iMac seems like the obvious next place to go with the parts we currently know about that Apple has, shipping in machines now.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I didn't expect MacBook Pros until second half of the year anyway. It felt like a WWDC announcement always to me. I didn't think we were going to get them any sooner than that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just me being excited.
I think you got overexcited, maybe.
It's hard not to. This stuff is so much fun. So,
isn't it, Federico?
Yes. I mean, I'm just jumping up and down on my seat thinking about Pro.
Well, I got some good news for you, Federico. I got some good news for you.
Yes.
There's apparently a big overhaul coming to TweetDeck. The Verge had a
Nice.
big interview with Twitter's head of product, Kayvon Beykpour, and they're saying they're going to be remaking it from the ground up.
I like the sound of that. Okay, go on.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's all I have for you. I don't have anything else. They're just remaking it from the ground up.
Okay, so a couple of things. I really hope that this remake from the ground up means that it's also coming to iPad, because right now it's web and Mac and PC only.
Because you use it, right? Where do you use
right
it?
now on my Mac. Right now,
Okay.
The way that I use Twitter on my Mac is via TweetDeck, and I'm looking at it right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns open in TweetDeck. So there's my
Federico Viticci,
timeline.
social media intern over there.
I am my own social media manager. I am also a bad person because I follow things like Pokemon and Italian TV via Twitter searches.
Why is that bad?
Well, because it's a huge waste of time, right? Because you find all these
okay.
tweets and suddenly
Fair.
you just wasted 40 minutes
Yeah.
clicking on links and reaction GIFs and that kind of stupid stuff. But it's also a very effective approach to Twitter because, like, set aside, disregard the last 2 columns for those saved searches, which, by the way, it's a powerful feature that you can have in. I mean, you can do it in Twitter, in the official app, but you can also do it in TweetDeck, and it becomes a lot more fun because each search can become its own column. But what I do, for example, and there's a link in the show notes, for a couple of years now, I have not read my mentions via the native mentions tab. Instead, I put together in 2019 a saved search on Twitter that displays in the same window both replies and quote tweets, right? So people who quote tweet one of my tweets, they show up in the same list. By default, they do not, because by default in Twitter, in the mentions tab, you only see mentions. And then if you want to see quote tweets, you got to go to the notifications tab. Instead, via this saved search, I made it more like Tweetbot, which I believe it's the only app that collects both mentions and quote tweets in the same list. Maybe Twitterrific does it too. And so in TweetDeck, that can just be its own column, and I can place it right after the timeline because I can drag and drop columns however I want. So I really hope that, I mean, good news. Like, I like it that they're working on it. It's great to know that it's still in active development. And I hope that this rebuilding from the ground up means they're also bringing this to iPad, because I have been trying for a long time to sort of try and find something similar to TweetDeck on iPad. Now I still use the official app because I believe that the real Twitter experience is the official app. But there are times when I'm more in a sort of a news discovery kind of mode, where maybe I just want to see all the links that people have shared about a particular topic, or I need to go through my mentions. Like, I'm not necessarily keeping up with Twitter as I normally do. I'm more like dealing with it for work, right? And so there's a couple of options when it comes to multi-column Twitter on iPad. The first one is Tweetbot 6, which is the latest version of Tweetbot, and obviously you can have 2 columns as always. You can have the timeline and a narrow column on the right side of the screen. But the more interesting option, I think, is Aviary. So Aviary is this new third-party Twitter client that came out alongside iOS 14, and the developer has released a lot of updates in the past few months. It was actually highlighted by the Twitter API portal a couple of days ago, I think, as one of the new apps using the modern Twitter API. And what you can do in the iPad version of Aviary, you can have up to 3 columns. You can choose to have a narrow or sort of a collapsed sidebar on the left side of the screen. You can choose to show the sidebar alongside the columns or not. And you can switch the middle column to either display your mentions or your DMs or a saved search or a list. And what's even nicer about Aviary is that there's lots of settings to choose from. They are presented relatively clearly. I mean, it's not as confusing as, say, iCab, for example, right? All the settings are very neatly organized.
I mean, you've hardly set any kind of relatable bar.
It's not a high bar, I know, but I'm just here to tell you, like, this is an app with tons of settings, but it's not confusing to tweak them. And what I like is that when you click on a tweet in the timeline, you can choose to have the detail page for the tweet open in the rightmost column. So that's a very nice touch, because you can keep scrolling and then you say, oh, let me open this tweet for, like, I want to watch a video or something. And then you can just pin it to the side, which is cool. The problem with Aviary is that you cannot open an unlimited number of columns. So it's not like TweetDeck, because I want, like, 3 columns are not enough. Because, I mean, between the timeline, mentions, and DMs, I'm already, I don't have any more columns. So I think Aviary is on the right path in terms of trying to offer a TweetDeck-like experience on iPad. It's definitely the closest one so far, but I would love to open more columns instead of just being limited to 3 of them. Because like I said, I want to have saved searches and I want to have lists in there. And so right now, it's not possible. But the fact that this application is using all the modern iPadOS APIs, right? So native sidebars, context menus. I mean, everything about it looks great. And the developer has been fixing a bunch of visual glitches and bugs that people have been reporting lately. The last time I tried it, it was kind of buggy. And I've been using it for the past couple of days. It's much better now. But I want to have more columns. Now, I don't know if maybe it's an API limitation that they need to throttle the requests, and maybe more than 3 columns becomes a problem. I don't know.
Yep.
But all I'm saying is, maybe even if Twitter does not bring TweetDeck to iPad, maybe there's hope with something like Aviary. Or maybe the Tapbots folks will finally understand that more than 2 columns could work on an iPad in landscape. I don't know.
I don't know what they got distracted by. Some companies have a core thing, like Evernote, right? They have a core thing, and then they've run off the rails, and they come back like, oh no, our core thing is bad, and they try to fix it.
And you can tell the moment that Evernote got distracted, right? You can point at a specific moment in time and say, yeah, that's when you did the socks. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's so clear.
But what has Twitter been doing? They have the world's simplest service, it seems like, compared to these other things, and they just let things sit and rot, like things like TweetDeck.
I mean, look, Jack needed to meditate in a cave and grow a beard and eat seeds from the ground, all right? So the guy needed to do that, and I don't know, man.
They seem to be doing stuff. I actually did hear a thing where Jack was saying they've been working for a long time to basically redo their entire underpinnings so they can start to be more responsive to product stuff. And I want to talk about one of those in a minute, actually. But the head of product, Big Paw, said, in the last year and a half, we've really stepped up both our commitment and follow through on just innovating around the API again, getting the API back to parity from our own internal APIs that we use to build functionality. The word parity is interesting to me there. We've spoken about this a bunch. Like, is it going to be, right? Like, will Tapbots and Aviary and Twitterific, like, they're going to be able to actually build a Twitter app which is like the original Twitter app? Because I'll tell you what, whilst there's a lot of things I like about the Twitter app, there's one thing I really don't like. It's trends. I don't want to see the trends every time I go to search. Because what happens to me every time is I want to go search for something, right? Either an account or whatever. And I press that search button, and a word grabs my eye, and I'm like, what? And I can't help but click it, right? And I never leave those experiences feeling better than when I started. And I've seen the whole thing about like changing your location, and I just don't want to see trends. I just don't want to see the trends, right? And yeah, so and other Twitter apps, third-party Twitter apps that I've used, you can disable that if you want to. And so I really hope that there are things that come in the future where third-party apps can integrate more with the typical Twitter experience. We'll see. A new TweetDeck could be a way that Twitter makes money, I think. You know, like we've spoken in the past about them wanting to do subscription-based stuff. Because one of the things that we know Twitter is doing now is their super follow feature, right? Where you can basically pay creators. And in this interview, they were talking about how it seems that super follows is not something that they're particularly looking to really make a lot of money on, which I was surprised about. Like, I had figured that they spoke about doing the App Store cuts, which they're going to have to do. But then I figured that they would probably do like a 50-50 revenue split with creators. But it seems at least that they're not necessarily looking at that kind of stuff, and that they really see it as a way for creators to make money, which I thought was interesting. So, like, you know, you could make people pay for your hot takes and you would get most of the money for it. So maybe they end up doing something like a, hey, pay us for TweetDeck kind of thing, which I think would make sense. I did want to know what the two of you thought about the super follow feature.
I think it's a very good idea. I want to see how many integrate. Like, I guess that it will go beyond just saying, pay me so that you can see these quote unquote protected tweets.
Yeah, I can give you a little. They published a bunch of screenshots, right?
Right.
And one of the screenshots that they posted, whether they actually have all of this functionality available, I don't know. But there's like this splash screen that came up, and it's like, if you want a super follow to show your support, this person will earn money from your super follow, and you'll receive the listed perks as a thank you. And these options of these perks were a supporter badge on your profile, subscriber-only newsletters, exclusive content, deals and discounts, and community access. So, like, maybe that is like, you know, the exclusive content is tweets and fleets and all that kind of stuff. Subscriber-only newsletters, maybe they're integrating with their newsletter platform that they bought. Yep. Deals and discounts, no idea what that means. Community access, I figured maybe Spaces? They could, like... Well, Spaces is one of them. I was also thinking, like, Discord.
See, where it becomes interesting to me is whether they will consider having these kinds of external integrations, right?
Yep.
Because, like, personally speaking, it would be interesting if Twitter could integrate this feature with something like Memberful or Patreon or these other platforms to say...
Well, they wouldn't work with Patreon, but they would work with all the things Patreon works with, right? So, like, Patreon integrates with a bunch of things, but, like, there's no way Twitter and Patreon are going to integrate because they're like completely in opposition.
Right.
There.
But my problem, for example, is I already have a membership program, right? And I wouldn't want to sell Twitter super follows as an additional thing. Ideally, what I would like to do is, if you're already a Cloud Mac Stories member, you also have access to super follows.
Well, I mean, you could do it the other way around. Like, if you become a super follower of Federico, you get this, and also you get Cloud Mac Stories, because you could...
But how would you control that access, right? That's exactly...
If they have integrations, you could just integrate your super follow and MailChimp together. So you just skip that.
I would love to have a super follows API so that we can do that kind of stuff. Yes.
But we'll see, like, as to whatever they do. I mean, I don't know. It's intriguing, at least.
I mean, there's a few people that I know I would like to support, right? There's a few folks on Twitter that I really enjoy. Like, whenever they do something, I check it out. And yeah, I would definitely sign up for those kinds of accounts and get more and have access to a newsletter, like that kind of whatever you do, I'm going to support you type of thing. I can think of a few Twitter users that I personally am a fan of. And so yes. I would like to do. Yeah. But it really depends on just how enticing the whole package is, right? I don't want to just get a bunch of exclusive tweets and a badge. Like, I don't care about the badge, right? I care about supporting the creator and I care about the content. So I want to see how extensive the things that you can, like the collection of things that you can offer, basically. And I'm very intrigued as a fan. I am very skeptical as a creator myself, because, and I think we talked about this already, we chose years ago to have our own membership program, right? And there's obviously, there's also a question of now trying to play devil's advocate for a second, but there's a question of, do you really want to build your membership platform on top of a social network, right? There's the question of control. There's the question of, you don't really own your customers because you're having this company in the middle of your relationship with them. To an extent, you could make the same argument for stuff like Patreon and Memberful, obviously, but the differentiating factor there is you can control everything via an API, right? And you have access to all the possible member data that you want to have. You control everything via Memberful. You control everything via Stripe. So you can do whatever you want, basically, in terms of managing people, managing access to multiple tiers, all that kind of stuff. With Twitter, I have to assume it'll be a much more simple approach where you say, hey, sign up, and people sign up, and you see a list of people, and you probably cannot export anything, and you get your cut at the end of the month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
As a creator, I wouldn't be ecstatic at the idea of not having that kind of technical control.
I mean, and there's also choosing to go your own route. You don't have to lose 30% to Apple or Google as well, which
exactly.
you would
which
if
is
you were doing this thing.
Big cut. So,
for something they have no right over. None. But we can have that conversation another day, maybe. Stephen, what do you have any particular thoughts about super follows?
It just feels like too little too late. The creators, to Federico's point, have already found their things to do, right?
Yeah, if they would have done this a few years ago, Twitter would have just absolutely owned it. Yeah.
It's also interesting because, we think about Twitter as like the most important social network, but out in the world, it's actually not very big. Even though it's where our community is focused and where all of us are all day, it's not true out in the wider world. And I just can't help but wonder, how big could this be? With something like Patreon, because it's independent of anything, no matter what social network your content creator and your audiences are, if it is Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or whatever, Patreon, is agnostic to all of those things. And so even if this is successful, which I think is not a guarantee, it can't ever grow past a certain size because Twitter itself is limited in size in a way that I think we don't often see.
No, I think that's a good point. Right, and Patreon is its own thing, and people know what it is, and you can just say, go follow my Patreon, and it's just clicking on a link, same as clicking on any link, and filling out the form. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Like you guys, I just have no place in my life that I think this would even make sense for me as a person who creates things to do.
Because the things like the things that I do for members, the work-related stuff, right? That's already a huge part of my day. And the thought of, but let's also do a personal super follows type of thing, it's not that kind of a pressure and the kind of responsibility that I'm looking for right now. Because my music and video game recommendations are now paywalled with a super follow. It's
I think
no,
none of us are influencer content creators, right? If you are the type of person whose job is social media, you kind of social media for us, I think, is very much a secondary thing to the things that we do. That maybe if you are a social media influencer person, your brain is already in that world of creating content for those specific platforms. The thought of having some stuff which is a little bit cordoned off is an easier jump, right? Where it wouldn't be the same, I think. I just don't even know what I would put there, honestly. Realistically, even if people were we really want to give, I had 1,000 people say to me, we really want to super follow you. I don't know what I would give you, right? I just don't think I have it.
What would you? Yeah, I have no idea what I would provide as content for you.
But I think there are a lot of people that still could, it could work for them. But I think that they have potentially, they are following this idea rather than having had it in the first place, and that's the problem. Where if Twitter would have had that idea a long time ago, I think the market for things like Patreon would be very different, and I think Twitter would own quite a large slice of it. I agree with what Steven said about it's not necessarily the place for everyone, but I think it would be a place for enough people that they would have been much more legitimate competition, where by this point everyone's kind of worked out their thing on their own.
Yeah, like who's going to leave Patreon for this? Or who starting out is going to think, let me just do this on Twitter instead of something like Patreon or Memberful or Rolling Your Own.
Yeah.
Now, there's some people, like there are creators out there, like the whole thing is on Twitter. And for them, I think it'll be great.
Like a lot of comedians.
As long as they haven't started it somewhere else.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I think some of these people start Patreons, maybe they don't work as well as they would if they were Twitter-based completely, you know?
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Mack Weldon. After taking a brief hiatus from outdoor activities and workout routines, it's time to get back to the grind with new spring essentials from Mack Weldon. With body mapping technology and fabric mesh zones, Mack Weldon's Stealth Boxer Briefs deliver enhanced breathability and support, perfect for everyday wear or to be layered underneath workout gear. And for sweatpants you can wear outside without feeling like you're wearing sweatpants, check out Mack Weldon's new Ace lines. I love spring because it means that I can start bike riding again, get outside, not be stuck just working out in the garage with a space heater on. I love those early spring days where you can get out and enjoy the warm weather again for the first time in months. And being comfortable, having good clothes, good workout wear is key to that routine. So whether you're shopping for socks, shirts, hoodies, underwear, polos, or active shorts, Mack Weldon promises comfort and a consistent fit so you can look great and feel great. From working out, going to work, or on a date, Mack Weldon is for everyday life. With a wide range of customized fabrics, your garments will keep up with you no matter what your day looks like. And don't forget to join Weldon Blue, the totally free loyalty program. Level 1 gets you free shipping for life, and once you spend $200, you are in Level 2. Get this, 20% off every order for the next year. That's really cool. Mack Weldon wants you to be comfortable, so if you don't like your first pair of underwear, you can keep them, and they'll still refund you, no questions asked. For 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com/connected and enter the promo code CONNECTED. That's mackweldon.com/connected, promo code CONNECTED for 20% off. Mack Weldon is reinventing men's basics. Our thanks to Mack Weldon for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So we were talking earlier about if there would be iPads in a March event, if there was going to be one. I think one of the products that feels like it's certain it would be a new iPad, and probably a new iPad Pro, and probably the 12.9-inch iPad Pro would be that product. There has been continued rumors about mini LED, and this is continuing. There was another report about mini LED iPad Pros launching as soon as the end of March, which honestly isn't that long now. It's like it's a very strange 20 days. Mini LED would still be an LCD display, but have mini LEDs backlighting behind it. So the backlighting would give higher brightness, improved contrast. There would be 5G and an A14 variant. This is stuff that we've
5G.
Thank you. Probably known about for a while, but Stephen wanted to pose the question to us of what we would want from a new iPad Pro in a kind of mythical environment, and so we all have a selection of things, I think, that we would like to talk about. There's a little bit of overlap here, so maybe I don't know. How should we do this, Stephen? You proposed it. Do we want to round robin? What do you want to do?
We don't all have the same number, so the round robin would fall out of the sky.
Oh, imagine if a round robin wouldn't work for us. Can you imagine that? If somehow it got in the wrong order?
We execute it so perfectly every time.
Well, maybe we could just go in order that I'll just talk about my things, and then if we get overlap, we just get overlap. So I think that every single product that Apple makes now needs to have a better webcam, better front-facing camera. Like, this has been a thing for a long time. Like, I think even the iPhone needs a better selfie camera, as always. It's such an important thing. But now everyone's been subject to how poor their front-facing cameras are. You know, like on their Macs, on their iPads. Everybody wants better cameras. We should have better cameras. Obviously, it's way worse on the Mac than it is on the iPad. But the main problem I have with the iPad is the location of it. So when I have FaceTime calls and Zoom calls, I have my iPad in horizontal mode, like in landscape mode, because it's nicer, you get a bigger screen. But then when I'm looking at the camera, looking at the people, it's always in the wrong place for me, off on one of the sides. I would much prefer the camera to be on the horizontal edge, right? On like the landscape edge, that's where I would want it to be. I think that would be much nicer. Do either of you agree or have any thoughts on the camera stuff?
I agree, and I will go as far as saying I actually want 2 front-facing cameras, one on either side. Just give me 2 cameras, because sometimes I get it, like you want to chat in portrait, and it makes more sense to have the camera on the shorter side of the iPad. Most of the time when you're working, though, you want to have on the landscape side. So I would love to have 2 cameras, which is a common thread, I guess, in my wishes for this iPad Pro. Because I'm just going to mention it right away. I also want 2 USB-C ports.
So I guess with 2 front-facing cameras, you could like have 3D FaceTime calling.
Yes, FaceTime 3D. I think there's a possible problem with the iPad Pro camera being on the horizontal edge, is that is where all the pencil magnets and charging stuff is, and so that's going to have.
But could you just put it on the bottom edge?
Then it's looking up your nose like those Dell notebooks used to do.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking if you use one of the cases,
right? Which most people are going to have it in a Magic Keyboard or some sort of case most of the time, and so maybe I think the pencil thing would have to be dealt with. It's not a showstopper. Clearly, that they can design products that work together, but I don't think it's as easy as like, let's just put it over here. But I agree with you. It being off to the side is super weird, and so much of the iPad, it feels like Apple just had to make a decision, and they made that decision 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that the iPad is a portrait first hardware device, even though from the beginning the software is better in landscape. They're just slowly coming around to things being more native, if you will, more better, all being in landscape.
More better. More better. Can we talk about 2 USB-C ports for a second?
Yes.
What is that? What's going on there?
Because I'm tired of using adapters and dongles.
Okay.
I just want to have one port for charging and the other for data or connecting a monitor, whatever. Just give me, computers have multiple ports, and an iPad is a computer.
What's a computer?
I knew this was coming. So
wait, can't you just charge through the Magic Keyboard?
Yeah, I never do that. It's because it's also like slower charging. I don't trust that.
I will say on that one thing, they have given you 2 USB-C ports there. You're choosing not to use one of them. It charges fine.
I don't know. I prefer the idea of having multiple ports on the computer.
Yeah, I agree that there should be 2 USB-C ports on it. Like, why not? Like, why not do
why
that?
not? If a MacBook has it, why not the iPad?
It's just like if you did it at all, then you know it's useful. Put another one on there, right? And look, you don't have to start putting all kinds of nonsense on there. You do not need to put an SD card reader on the iPad, right? You don't need to do that, right?
No.
You know, you have to start putting like whatever on there. But
Ethernet.
2 USB-C ports would be great. Like, why not? Let's just do it.
The question is not why. The question is why not?
What about this new MagSafe? Put that on there and one USB-C. How would you feel about that?
What would that do?
I don't know. Well, it charge, and it'd be nice. I would much prefer MagSafe, a version of MagSafe charging on my iPad than USB-C.
Okay.
For charging.
I'll give you that. Sure. If they do that, I will accept it. MagSafe and USB-C.
Like if the laptops are going to get MagSafe, why can't the iPads get MagSafe?
MagSafe and USB-C, I would like. That I would like, yes.
That would be cool, right?
Yeah.
Because, as well, like, the iPads are lighter than laptops. There's more risk of that thing flying off the table if I hit the cable. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm more likely to have it in places where that would occur anyway. So I would like MagSafe if that's the thing that comes to other products. That'd be cool.
I like it. Yeah.
I would also like better support for external displays. I'll ask this forever.
This is
I just
also on
want
my
it to
list.
just do it better. Just like
Just
there's a
more
lot of
better.
areas of better that they could do with this, and they just need to just start doing a couple of them, right? Like, let me lock the screen. There's part one, and then eventually, aspect ratios. Give me different aspect ratios. I know that's
Aspect ratios and have multiple home screens.
Yep.
Drag and drop windows between displays. I mean, there's literally so much choice. It's not about having better external display support. It's about having external display support,
okay.
like at all.
Yeah. It's basically not. It's just mirroring. That's all it is.
Yeah. So
My next point. Why not just make the bigger one bigger? Just I don't know. Just what could happen if there was a even bigger iPad? I don't know how big I want an iPad to be. Like, I don't know how much I'm willing to have an iPad go, right? But there is a part of me that's like, why can we not push past 13? Like, could we go to 15? What would that be like?
yeah. Again, also on my list. And the more I think about this, the more I feel like, yeah, it's about having a bigger iPad, but really, like, this was a fun exercise because it made me realize that what I really want to see from a new iPad Pro is finish the event where they announce it with the same feeling I had when they first introduced the iPad Pro in 2015 of like, it's been 6 years and I want to have that feeling of, oh no, they didn't again. Like that surprise, that genuine surprise of, they did some crazy stuff that I was not expecting, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to feel
yeah.
that way again.
Yeah. I see that.
But I don't know how. You remember how we felt like suddenly they didn't just announce an iPad Pro, they sort of validated our feelings about it in a way that we were not necessarily expecting. And yeah, I mean, mini LED, fine. 5G, okay, thank you. Maybe longer battery life, sure. But can you make it like feel new, like really new, and try something really different? Because more or less, I mean, besides the redesign in 2018, with the switch, so we got the new display design and the switch to USB-C. Really, the excitement has come from the accessories, not necessarily from the iPad Pro itself.
Yeah, that the 2018 redesign, whilst it still feels and looks great, the 2020 iPad Pro models specifically make me feel the same way that you do, where it's like, well, now you've kind of kept the hardware the same for a while. I'm kind of wanting and slightly expecting you to surprise me again.
And I will say that in the last 6 years, so since 2015, we've talked about the iPad Pro more in the context of two things: its software and its accessories, not the iPad Pro itself, which I understand, but it's also very different from the way that we talk about iPhones and the way that we talk about MacBooks.
That's really interesting.
And I wonder why. Is it just because it's such a different product, or is it because Apple isn't trying hard enough? And I don't have a good answer to that.
I don't have an answer to that question either, but that's a very interesting insight. I on the accessories, I do want another. I use the same phrase to blow me away again. I want another exciting new accessory, right? Like Apple Pencil, Apple Pencil 2, Magic Keyboard. All of these things were like, oh my god! Like I did not expect this. I want another accessory like that. You know, I would love to see Magic Keyboard 2 at some point, where it can do, as we said, do what it does, but better, you know, like keep doing everything the Magic Keyboard is good at, but improve on it, you know, better angles, viewing angles and all that kind of stuff. I would love to see that. But I would love to I just want to keep seeing them pushing the iPad with this additional hardware. I think one of the reasons that maybe we don't potentially talk about the iPad hardware so much is because Apple does such a good job with the accessories, right? Like Apple's iPad Pro accessories are the best accessories Apple makes. Like nothing even comes close. to how much these accessories, these first-party accessories, change how the product feels to use, and like you can adapt it and make it better. So I want to keep seeing them do that. It makes sense in this line. You keep, you especially as we spoke about this, right? Like when they trickle down the other accessories, you need to continue innovating at the top end to make the iPad Pro worth it as a product to people. Because right now, I can imagine so many people rightly choose to buy an iPad Air over an 11-inch iPad Pro.
It makes a lot more sense. Yeah, especially if you want an 11-inch iPad. It makes
There's just too much overlap right there right now.
And so you've got to expect that they are going to attempt to change that in some way. I don't know what it will be, but accessories are always a great way to do it. And it's also great because, I'm sure Apple were very happy with the Magic Keyboard because they could sell it to lots of people, right?
And it costs a lot of money.
But they could sell it to previous iPad Pro users as well. So that's my little list. I know, Federico, you have a couple more than me, and Stephen has a couple more too.
I mentioned 2 USB-C ports and the other stuff, the 2 cameras, external display support, and a bigger model was also on my list. So I'm just going to mention longer battery life because why not? Like, I can go through my iPad Pro's battery if I work a lot on a particular day. It would be nice if I could, if it could go until the next morning. Not that I would want to work until the next morning, but I dislike having the 20% warning at 11 p.m. It's not something...
Yeah, I've been thinking about the battery, right? They always had that 10-hour battery because it was always so good and it was always so long and nothing else could touch it, so why change it?
But now...
But the new Macs...
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, they get way better battery life than the iPad, which I think is now time to consider, can you get more battery life out of an iPad? Because that 10-hour figure is just not as impressive anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Why I put it on the list. And the other one is even louder speakers. I want to say I enjoy listening to music on the iPad Pro. I mean, it's obviously not as good as an actual speaker, as a HomePod, or really as an Amazon Echo even. But they are decent speakers for a tablet, and they're loud enough. So if you can make those better, please and thank you.
Do you also take pictures with your iPad Pro? Use it as a camera?
Sometimes of my dogs. If they're doing something particularly funny and my phone is like in the other room, then yes, I will take a picture. But that's literally the only scenario. But yes, better speakers. I mean, again, why not? But all of these things are, again, iterative updates, right? It's like making something that already exists better. Whereas I would like to see something that doesn't exist. And I want to be shocked, right? I want to feel like I felt in November 2015 or September, whenever that was. It's more about missing that feeling and craving that feeling than, sure, I'll get a new iPad Pro with a better display and a better system on a chip and whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to feel good about it too.
What if they switch it to Intel? The Mac's going one way, take the iPad the other way.
No, I mean, that would be a surprise.
We have all these Xeon chips.
That would be surprising. I wonder, now this is probably a stupid idea, but could Apple make something like a better version? And again, think about it in the context of a real quality accessory made by Apple that costs a lot of money. But look at something like the Kensington Studio Dock, which is coming out soon. Could Apple maybe make a better version of that? And sort of really make an accessory that turns your iPad Pro into a desktop workstation. Maybe that's something, that would be one of the new things that, like, I would not expect from Apple, would make the iPad Pro a lot more pro for professional users, and could be another accessory to add to the lineup, and you could charge a lot of money. You could charge people a lot of money to pay for that kind of accessory. So a charging pad, multiple USB ports, a stand that supports rotation, maybe do something special for the Apple Pencil. That kind of thing is what I...
These aren't 3 products.
Exactly.
You getting it yet? It's one
and it
product.
costs $1,000. So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of out of the ordinary wild stuff that I would like Apple do more with the iPad Pro. That's the end of my list.
5G,
Steven, I don't know
baby.
if you- Okay. All right. Sure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think it's been the M1 MacBook Pro, or maybe it's been that I haven't really left my house very much in a year. I just don't use my iPad Pro for work, and it makes it difficult to get excited about a new one because it's not really in the market, probably. I agree with everything y'all said. The only thing I would add, and it's just Apple just doesn't do this on Pro hardware. They leave all the fun colors for the standard hardware, and I think that's a mistake. I think you can have colors on an iPad Pro, and it'd be fun.
Professional people like to have fun too,
Yeah,
right?
Pro fun. So
Yeah.
I like to see them do that, but really, I'm just I want a modern, slightly bigger iPad Mini. That's what I want.
Okay, you've kind of cheated, but I agree with you. I would also like a modern iPad Mini. If that's the conversation we're going to have right now, yeah, I would love
That
that.
could happen. You never know.
I mean, it could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only other thing I would add seriously is the cost is, I think, still too high. The iPad Air kind of sits in the middle now, and so you do run the risk of running into that. So maybe they both get bigger, and you can space them out a little bit better. But
Right.
like you can buy an iPad Pro and a smart keyboard and spend more than a MacBook Air. Like I just don't know if that's where the iPad Pro needs to be. If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about, head on over to our website at relay.fm/connected/336. While you're there, you can get in touch. You can send us an email with feedback or follow-up. You can also join and become a member of Connected Pro. That gets you a bunch of really cool stuff, including a lot of fun stuff from Relay, but also a longer ad-free version of the show each week. This week, we talked about a lot of things. I don't remember. It was wild. What did we talk about in the pre-show?
We spoke about Zoom.
Yes?
I spoke about my issues with home security systems.
That's right.
Ripped bases.
Yeah, we spoke about
Cool CEOs.
I don't even know how to sum it up. Cool CEOs, good looking. Whether Steve Jobs is cool,
And walking the fine line between confidence and coolness.
yeah,
And the very few people who have both.
and Steve Jobs on a motorbike.
Yes.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah.
So if any of that sounded good to you, go join Connected Pro. If you want to find Mike, if you just can't get enough of Mike in your life, you can follow him on Twitter. He's at IMYK.
You can super follow him on Twitter, even.
Super follow.
For me, every follow is a super follow. You know,
Aw.
all my followers super in my heart.
He also hosts a bunch of shows here on Relay FM, and he Twitches keyboard stuff at Mike.live.
That is very true.
You can find Federico on Twitter at Viticci, Viticci. He is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. Federico, I have a question for you. What is
Sure.
your favorite holiday?
Once I would have said Christmas, but I think as I grow older, I'm running into something that my mom used to say and that I didn't really understand when I was little, which is the older you grow, the sadder the Christmas becomes. Just because you lose that magic of, being a kid, and my grandma, for example, is not around anymore. And it's just Christmas is not as fun as it used to be, at least in my family. Maybe it's not the same for everybody. I hope it's not the same for everybody, but at least for me, it's not my favorite anymore. Now, Easter, it's not really, it's a holiday, but it's never, at least in Italy, it's not a huge thing. Easter, we have like a lunch, and then on Easter Monday, we go to the beach or something like that. That leaves, I don't know, what does that leave? My birthday. And, we have a holiday in Italy called Ferragosto, which is on the 15th of August, which is in theory like a religious thing, but in practice, it's always been an excuse for people to get together and party and get drunk. I cannot think of any other holiday. Well, and there's also New Year's Eve, right? Obviously. So, I want to say that it comes down. I dislike the pressure of New Year's Eve and being forced to come up with plans for New Year's Eve. I am not counting Valentine's Day because we don't celebrate it. Sylvia and we don't care about Valentine's Day. So that leaves my birthday and the 15th of August. I mean, my birthday is on the 10th of August, so also in the same period, basically. So I will say, given how my life has changed over the past few years, I will say that my favorite holiday is my birthday because I get to go out for dinner with my friends.
Your favorite holiday is the one that is about you only.
Yes.
Really a holiday at that point.
I mean, I hope that you were able to follow along with my detailed explanation as to why I have issues with other holidays. So, I mean, okay, so if I were to choose like the personal pick, would be all about me and my birthday. But if I were to set my ego aside for a moment, which I know can be challenging for me, I would say Ferragosto on the 15th of August is my favorite.
Federico's late birthday, as it's known.
Or, yes, also known as my late birthday, 5 days later. Yes.
All right. I'm glad we got that cleared up, I think. Mm-hmm. You can follow me on Twitter as ISMH, and I write over at 512pixels.net. Before we go, I want to tell you about another show on Relay FM that you may enjoy, and that is Focused by David Sparks and Mike Schmitz. We all have these distractions all day, every day. It can be hard to focus. It can be a struggle to find that superpower. But David and Mike can show you how. Go to relay.fm/focused or search for Focused wherever you get your podcast. It's a good show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for this show. And they are, of course, Pingdom, Hover, and Mack Weldon. Until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.